Hi guys, it's Hallie, and I wanted to share with you guys my personal story. So I tried to think of a name for this story, and the best I could come up with was the year my family bought my grandfather's farm, and I did a bunch of really hard stuff. Um, so to start the story, I think I should probably give some background about myself. So when I was a kid, I didn't like doing anything that was difficult. So I got scared really easily. Physically, I was very weak. I didn't want to practice anything. I quit things very quickly because I didn't want to do stuff that was hard. Which also meant that I kind of became a kid that was known more for what I didn't do than what I did do. And so I was mostly a kid who, if you asked me what my favorite hobbies were, I would get really nervous because it was basically just reading books and hanging out with my friends. And that was about it. That was all I wanted to do. And I think I always kind of just assumed I would always be that way. I wanted to be somebody else, but I didn't think that I was capable of being any more than what I already was. I didn't think I was capable of doing anything else, trying new things, improving myself. And so I kind of just accepted it, and I thought this is how I was always going to be. But then in my sophomore year of high school, my grandfather had passed away a few years before, and him and my grandmother owned a family farm. And my grandmother didn't want to take care of it anymore, and so instead of selling our family farm, my family decided to take it over. So we bought a very small cattle operation in Central Florida, and we became farmers. And we definitely didn't know what we were doing. And so that year, my dad decided that in order to kind of push us into the livestock world, he would have me and my siblings join 4-H. And so we joined 4-H, and we were going to start our first year by showing steers, or male cows, for those who don't know. And so we started showing steers through 4-H, and at the same time, I also, kind of in a weird, long, complicated way, got roped into joining the cross-country team at my school. I had never run before. I had never showed livestock before. I didn't know anything about either of them, and it was gonna be really hard for me to start. But both things, even though they were really hard in the beginning, I learned a lot from them, and it definitely started to kind of change who I was and how I saw myself. So in the beginning, both things were very hard. I was always tired all the time because I would wake up really early, feed my steer, walk a mile with my steer, and then in the afternoons I would go to practice and I would run, and I was always hungry and I was always tired, and I was getting stepped on by cows, and then I was always sweaty and I could never do what I wanted to do. I was getting way behind in school, and I didn't know what I was doing at all. I had no clue. And so one of the first things I learned through this process, as I was kind of getting into these things and getting to the point to where I could actually enjoy them and they were actually fun, was I learned a lot about how to lean on others. The amount of generosity that I saw from people saying, here's how you change your form when you run, or people standing on the sidelines and cheering for me, or offering advice or offering help. In the 4-H world, I had so many people from my community jump in, people who had known my grandfather, who had known the kind of man he was, and wanted to help us become the same kind of people too. And so I got a lot more help, and I learned how to, first of all, ask for help, but second of all, understand the importance of having a community around you who's willing to jump in and help and tell you what to do. And then the next thing that I experienced through these two things was I experienced for the first time a sense of working hard and getting pride and accomplishment from the things that I did. And so in my running, every week I would set a personal record. I'd run a 5K every weekend, and every weekend I was getting faster and faster and faster. And I kind of got a sense of being able to know my body and challenge myself and see hard work pay off. And then it eventually got to the point where my friends and I decided to train for a half marathon. So we ended up running 2 half marathons in the span of a year. And that was a really incredible experience. And then in 4-H, I started winning awards at shows. And so I was able to see all this work, and yes, it was hard, but for the first time I actually got to see hard work pay off, and that was incredible. And so these two things definitely made me appreciate life more, appreciate living things, appreciate other people, appreciate living healthy. And then they also made me appreciate having a community around me and the joys of working hard and seeing your hard work pay off somewhere. So in that year, I definitely changed a lot about how I saw myself, because I no longer saw myself as this very lazy, wimpy kid who couldn't do anything. And I kind of learned how to challenge the status quo of who I thought I was and what I could do. And I became somebody who wanted to work hard and who wanted to challenge myself. So how this kind of translates into who I am today and what I want to be as a leader and as a teacher is that now I want to lead with more generosity, kind of give back the way other people gave to me. And I want to look back on those behind me and help them along, like the way I was helped. And then I also love challenging myself, and I love questioning the status quos that I set for myself. And I want to learn how to teach and encourage other people to do the same, because it did a lot for me, and I think it could do a lot for other people. So that's my story, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.